Hello and welcome to the last panel for the day, or at least in this hall too. We'll be discussing sustainability. We'll be discussing sustainability, green buildings, what it all means, and in particular in regards to the office environment. There's a lot going on in the office sector. It's a topic always in discussion, always topical, and we have three experts here to tell us some of the secrets in what's involved in looking ahead in this particular part of the real estate business. I have here Alex Athanassoulas, who's the president of SBC Greece. SBC is the Sustainable Building Council Greece, and he is also the CEO of the Stelios Group. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone.
And we have Leon Goldwater. He's the CEO of We Are Pop-Up, which is based in the Netherlands, and he's come to Athens to explain to us how they contribute or how they are participating in this fast-changing landscape. And we have also Alexandros Koudounas, who's the country manager of Greece and Cyprus in regards to the IWG Group. Welcome, Alexandros.
Thank you very much.
And thank you. Now, in our discussions shortly before coming up, one of the things which struck me when we discussed having a talk about this panel was how each of you approach it in your own separate ways, despite the fact that it's a very specific part of the real estate sector, and one in which what someone would think is smaller, but there are so many views, different views here. I think we can jump straight into it, and so many things being redefined. That's a word which came up a number of times in regards to this sector. So if you'd like to start with telling us a little bit, Alex, about what it is that SBC does and how you see things, your involvement in these changing conditions.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bouras. First of all, SBC Greece is the national chapter of the World Green Building Council. The World Green Building Council is the largest organization of sustainability in the built environment, present in 88 chapters and more than 50,000 members across the world. So we are the Greek chapter of the World Green Building Council, and we are the institutional partner when it comes to sustainability. That was missing at the end. I think we should close the door.
Yeah.
So when it comes to sustainability, we are the institutional partner of all the different organizations and the government and the businesses. We were established as a non-profit organization 10 years ago, and we represent more than 150 members. Most of them are big international companies and Greek companies working in the Greek sustainability universe, let's say.
Okay, great. Leon, tell us about your business. You're expanding, you're doing things. Tell us a little bit about your operations.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here today. And thank you everyone for being here. I'm so surprised. After 6 o'clock, you're all still here, probably waiting for the party. So from my side, I'm from We Are Pop-Up, which is basically our platform in the past has been considered to be more of an Airbnb for retail. And in the current time, so we're changing the model more towards office and storage, where we're going to enable corporate tenants to be able to utilize underutilized spaces that they're currently renting, to be able to make it possible for people to rent an office or rent a table for short periods. Could be for a day, could be for a month, could be for a year, because there's a tremendous amount of corporate tenants which have another 5-10 years on their lease, but don't have the people that are using it because people are working from home. Dynamics are changing quite a bit. So when we talk about sustainability, also the way offices are used in terms of energy usage, so there's a lot of tools out there which help companies to be able to utilize energy, so electricity. So when you're walking through the corridor, lights are going on. So that's what we're looking at, providing tools to make it easier for managing office spaces. So that's the change from going from just being a platform for pop-up shops to creating flexible storage spaces and flexible office spaces.
So it was a model which was employed in retail, and you're now taking it to the office space sector.
Correct, correct. Yeah, we've done some pilots over the years to test how can an outside small company go into a corporate office where there's security as an issue. Well, that's the biggest bottleneck. But with today's technologies and the way workstations are managed in offices, it makes it much easier for companies to be able to make it possible for third parties to utilize their offices and effectively create their own incubation environments by having their suppliers renting office space. So it's simply using underutilized spaces.
Alexandros, tell us a little bit about your operations. You're active in Greece. Obviously, you've got a big presence. And in regards to the sustainability issue, it's something which is at the core of, very much at the core of what you do.
Yes, thank you very much for having me here as well. And thank you all for being here as well tonight. International Workplace Group, also known through the brands Reduce, Spaces, HQ and Signature, is the world's leading flexible workspace operator. So basically what we do is we develop a network, and we keep developing a network of flexible workspaces around the globe in order to be able to fulfill our mission, which is help people have a great day at work. With regards to sustainability, it is indeed core to our business, but not the way most people perceive sustainability. Usually, especially with regards to office space, when people talk about sustainability, discussion is around the building itself, the materials out of those it has been constructed, the certifications the building may be carrying. But we are considering sustainability in another way. So for us, sustainability is not just the building itself, rather than how the building is used. And what we aim to do is to change the way people work and the way people utilize the office space. Basically, you will hear us saying very often hybrid work. And most of the times when people hear hybrid work, usually our mind goes into a split between sharing time between office or at home. But when we are talking about hybrid work, we are basically talking about a location strategy to offer to people who work in an office the ability to work in a location and during the time they desire to do so, with a split between a corporate HQ, their home, or a flexible workspace which may be conveniently located close to their home. And although ESG is usually interrelated with sustainability and it's a reporting mechanism, we basically address the core of ESG, and our model addresses all three elements: the environmental, the social, and the way the governance, the way the buildings are being operated under this perspective. So this is how we see basically the office space of the future, not just as an office itself, rather than in an ecosystem where people can work and operate in.
Okay, so let me just stick on this. It's largely to do also with the way in which we use the assets, not only what is created in the construction of it, but it's the way in which we use it, and that's where the sustainability comes into it. One of the big trends in recent years has been the wellness issue and the wellness, taking care of the wellness of workers in order to draw them back perhaps to the workplace, but it's an issue which is of growing importance in the corporate environment. How does that play out in your particular model? I understand that if you use, depending on how you use a building, you can get better, greener benefits, but if you need to provide extra benefits, how does that impact your equation?
The benefit itself is related to the social impact of adopting this hybrid way of working. And while we usually tend to think wellness at the workplace can translate into having a gym in the office building, which is of course more than welcome. We're not here to challenge that. The essence is that wellness comes through a better work-life balance. And this is how we impact and how we touch the social part of ESG and sustainability. Because if people need to commute less on a daily basis to go to their office space, they have the chance to work in a professional environment outside of their home, which is also not a recipe for success, working only at home. There is a great impact on people's mental and physical health, indirectly. They have more time to spare to go to the gym or to spend with their family, and this is creating the benefit to the essence of it, and not just wellness as we understand it through the presence of a gym.
So there are different types of wellness, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
And if you just create time, that's of value to the wellness profile, let's say.
Exactly. So people tend to work better, to be happier, to commute less if they have the chance to choose where they work from. And this has an impact both on their wellness, both on the environment. Less commuting means smaller footprint for each one of us who is spending 2 hours a day to go back and forth to the office. So there are many different benefits associated to hybrid work, and wellness is one of those.
Alex, you have a difficult task or a challenging task in that part of your work with the council is to educate and to inform people of what needs to be done. And where are we in that regards in Greece? I mean, the sophisticated investors realize a lot of things, and they pay close attention to the spreadsheets and the bottom line. How do you see, where do you see us at right now in the Greek market?
That's a very diverse question and a wonderful question. First of all, we like spreadsheets. And we like spreadsheets because we know that sustainability makes sense from every viewpoint that you would like to see it from. So educating people or educating society, it's a large part of what we're trying to do, be it directly technical to engineers or the broader sense. What I would like to explain, I guess, in contrast with my two other fellow panelists, is that sustainability is a very broad term. For us, when we talk about the built environment, it includes, of course, uses. It includes what we call the operational carbon. And unfortunately, in Greece, we mostly focus on that. So we mostly focus on the energy consumption and the operational side of the carbon footprint of buildings. What we're trying to do is shift the focus, and this is what our work within the EU is also doing, because we now know and understand that the embedded carbon, so the carbon that is included in whatever we do until we use the building and after we finish the life cycle, is higher than the operational carbon. And when we come, I'll be more specific because I'd like to talk about offices since this is the topic, and with my other hat, we've been designing offices in 29 countries so far. So one of the things that we see about offices is, first of all, the embedded part of carbon is very important because you have a constant renovation. So if you have a house, the period within which you renovate the house is quite long. If you have an office, especially under the disruptive period that we're currently living and how things are changing, you have a new renovation quite often. So the embedded carbon is higher, and it's injected almost every 3-4 years in the building. The other issue is that because of the density of the users within that building, the consumption in energy, but also all the parts that we discussed about wellness and the resilience are quite significant. So you have people working there for most of their day, most of their awake time at least, and that means that you have to provide clean air, you have to make sure what is the consumption of water, you have to make sure that the air is based on the materials that you decide that you will include in the design. You have to talk about the resilience. So what happens under extreme stress? One of the key issues that we have, because we've been discussing with the government, and recently we were at the environmental committee of the parliament, one of the key issues is that for every €1 you invest in sustainable buildings, especially certified sustainable buildings, you get back 6 when it comes to compensate extreme let's say, climate impact, be it heat waves, fires, floods, and so on. So what we're trying to say is that, and that's why most of the offices certified, most of the buildings certified in Greece, and mind you, there are not many. Okay. Most of the buildings certified in Greece are office spaces. Okay. So we need to understand what sustainability means, and we need to see the broader term of it, and this is what SBC Greece is doing. We're trying to shift the focus to the whole environmental impact of a building and how this can be optimized.
The strategic part of the equation and the extreme weather conditions. I know that you mentioned that a strategy is a cornerstone of what it is that you do in terms of your business. How are the extreme weather events, or the possibility of future extreme weather events, being taken into account with the green office buildings? I mean, how easy is that? I mean, it seems to be quite difficult.
It's pretty easy, actually. Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
Okay.
That's why the biggest organizations that fund construction and development globally, yeah. I'm not sure what is happening recently in the US, but at least on the European side, care about sustainability when it comes to the de-risking of the value yeah. of the assets and increasing the long-term value. So as I said, we like spreadsheets because we know that when you actually work for a sustainable building, all the parts of the equation are better. You end up with an asset that has a higher value, that has a better performance through its use, that can be easily, if it's done, and this is part of what you asked about strategy, and I'll try to be very brief. So we talked about the renovating offices. How do you design offices so that they are really versatile? And when you need to change the way they have been designed, you don't have to reinvest, you don't have to break down the whole building and build it from scratch. So that's part of how you design, and that's part of how we like to see it and how we do it. So to come back to what you said, all the elements, the financial part and the business case in creating the model for a building yeah. are there.
Is there anything you can't measure? Can you measure everything? I mean, is there a number for everything?
I cannot measure the resistance of governments and society to change.
Okay, all right, good.
I can see the impact. Yeah. I think that most of the things we do with the help of technology yeah. and the digital twins we build and the IoT and all the information that we get from the use of the buildings yeah. and the environmental certificates and product declarations we have for the products that we actually incorporate in the design of the offices, we are working towards managing to actually be able to assess almost every single point. We don't agree with all the European countries or all the European organizations on how you actually assess it, but there are ways to actually measure it.
Okay. Leon, when it comes to the measuring and the numbers, what's the benefit that you provide?
Well, I've got a question, in fact, to Alex, more the question based on this. So he told me something really shocking earlier, and that's there's only 100 buildings which are certified in Greece. That's one thing, so that's shocking.
Yeah.
The question is it because the certification is so difficult to get, or is it just that there's no one building
Is it easy to build a building, to design a building? I guess certification, if you see it as part of the process, it's not difficult. If you see it as something which is add-on, which is optional, which is nice to have, then yes, it adds a complexity, it adds some processes, but the whole idea is how do you shift the mental model to integrate that this is not something that we can opt out of. I think sustainability and the work we do at Sustainable Building Council shows that for us, the certification, be it LEED, BREEAM or the GNB, which are the biggest, let's say, organizations and certifications, or even the national standards, which now, unfortunately, in Greece are only energy efficiency standards. So we talk about the A+ building. A+ is the energy consumption. There is not a broad sense of sustainability integrated into the building codes. So for us, sustainability is not something which is complex, difficult. It's something that should be there regardless of what you want to do and how you want to do it.
So where is the problem? I mean, is it the investors, developers? Is it the tenants not demanding?
I think resistance to change. I think cross-discipline collaboration. We've been working with the Ministry of Environment and Energy, and we're trying desperately to include, and we have an open now line with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance and Investments. I think everybody needs to sit around the same table and find solutions, not stop at the problems. We have a lot of complex problems to solve, but there are always solutions. We need to sit together and discuss how we can overcome, be it, the benefits that we have and the incentives that some of them were.
We need more discussions on the better communications.
I'll stop. Sorry.
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 What are the benefits that you provide your clients? I mean, what kind of numbers? What is it that you promise the clients in terms of benefits for your mode of business?
So it depends on which side. If you're looking at the landlord or the corporate tenant side, or if you're looking at the tenant that's looking for the short-term locations. So if you're looking from a point of view of a landlord having underutilized space, having spaces, well, in this case, the corporate tenants, they're renting space, or whether that tenant be a flexible office occupier, there's a lot of empty spaces out there. So instead of going out looking for new spaces, we're trying to create it easy for people to use already spaces which are ready to use, which already have a receptionist, which already have security, which have reception. So why go out and recreate what's already existing in the market? So let's use the current capacity instead of building what is irrelevant.
In line with what Alex is saying too, yeah.
Exactly. So that's from that side. But economically, for a lot of companies, a lot of startups or companies which are growing, it's really uncertain times. And uncertain times, yes, AI does impact things, but AI is simply an opportunity for many companies. But in terms of how many spaces, how many personnel will you have in 1, 2, or 3 years, it's difficult to sign long-term leases. It's much more practical, sustainable to go to a company such as Regis or Spaces or other companies to rent for short periods when you don't know what your future is as a company.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And which is what brings me to Alexandros. What's the biggest challenge in your business, Alexandros?
As I said previously, one of the challenges is for the people to understand the concept of swifting into this multi-location strategy when it comes to the office space. Yep. So for people to understand and adopt this reality, especially in Greece, where we could really benefit from adopting a hybrid work strategy due to the daily long commuting hours we spend on street, etc. But still it remains difficult. People don't usually adopt this easily. And it's also, I wouldn't say challenge, but I would say for us a bet to find the locations, those buildings spread in each neighborhood, because our focus is not to be present just in the typical business districts, rather than everywhere across the globe and in Greece and in Athens and in other cities as well, to identify the buildings and the people who have the perception and believe in this concept, so to reposition their assets into a flexible workspace in which we will be operating.
One of the interesting things in regards to the sector in which you're in is, okay, there are the benefits for the worker, for the employee. If the increased flexibility, if they're closer to work, they can have more free time, and as a result, you mentioned before some impressive numbers for that increases, that can all increase
absenteeism and performance.
Drops absenteeism and increases performance. We all get that. But then there's the employer. And the employers aren't always so open or friendly to this. And if we look at examples like Elon Musk, who's been very public and in talking down the remote model. It's not necessarily remote that we're talking about here, but the remote is part of the broader picture. What kind of attitudes do you get from the employers? I mean, if you give them a good work performance, they're open to it.
The topic you just addressed on how many companies and leaders perceive remote working is indeed a very big challenge, and it's a different topic on which we can be discussing for a long time. For us, what is measurable, and CEOs around the world see the impact of their decision after they adopt the hybrid work model in the way I explained it. They see a direct impact on costs. So they save on costs. They can overutilize the same space between different people, and they don't need to maintain very big buildings, which sometimes stand empty or half empty because people tend to continue working from home or remotely. In the essence, we understand that. And the well-being of employees and the fact that they are happier and they are healthier, it goes back again to the business because they become more productive. So it's close to the discussion we tend to have or hear about working on a 4-day work schedule. There are people who believe that there's a benefit in that and others who challenge. But in our case, it's for sure measurable, and we have several white papers and research to back up these statements, is that there is cost saving if a company adopts this way of style, of working style, and there is an increase of productivity. So to wrap up the concept around sustainability and hybrid work model, because it's not contradictory to what Alex has been saying, buildings are the hardware. Hybrid business model and hybrid working the way we understand it under this strategy, this new location strategy, is the software. So the combination of those two can bring excellent results to the planet, to the people, to the employers, to the companies, etc.
Last question, we'll wrap it up. Specifically about the Greek market, what trends are you seeing emerge in your sector in the Greek market? Is there anything that you can tell us that recent or increasing trends that have been arising lately?
There is an increase in demand for our services, like in many other countries. So we see that here a lot. We have more and more people and companies reaching out to us to move into this concept of office as a service rather than as an asset or a liability. So there is indeed a trend towards this direction, which is basically what is also driving our growth as well.
Okay, great. Will the 100 buildings multiply soon? What's your outlook?
For sure they will multiply, but we're not worried about the certificate of the buildings which come with LEED BREEAM or DGNB if it's 100, 200. What we're fighting for is the increase of the, let's say, reference building. So we're trying to increase each building and the level that each building is designed with, be it a new building or in use or a refurbishment. So this is what we're aiming for.
Well, I think we touched on some good points there, and I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you so much.
have a good
Thank
afternoon.
you.